We're back, and our segment 2 guest is Carol Bishop. She's Executive Vice President for Kinship Center, and I told her I saved all the difficult questions for her.
That's fine.
Do I intimidate you at all?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
All right, well, Carol, let's talk a little bit about yourself, and then we'll lead into the Kinship Center. So, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from New York. I'm
Really?
a transplant.
Wow.
Yeah,
But you've been here for a long time.
I've been here for a long time. I've been here since 1965.
Do you give that New York accent just to entertain people at parties sometimes?
Only when I speak to my family on the phone.
Do you? And it comes out. Are you like of Italian descent or something like that?
No, just New York.
Just New York. New York should be its own thing. And where do you live now?
In Pacific Grove.
Okay. And let's talk about the Kinship Center. How long have you been involved with Kinship?
I am a co-founder of the
Really?
agency, actually.
Oh.
Right.
And so how long has that been?
We co-founded Carol Biddle and I co-founded the agency in 1984 and started out with 3 people. And in 27 years, we've grown to 200 staff and 7 offices, and it has been an amazing journey.
Wow. And so let's talk about the mission of Kinship Center. What was it when you first started out? What problem was out there that you said, we need to help solve this?
Well, we had been connected to another organization that was an adoption agency, and they were closing their doors in our community here. And our solution was to think about how hard could it possibly be to start an agency naively, and with fabulous support from the community and putting one foot in front of the other. We got halfway there before we realized that it was maybe harder than we thought, but we were already halfway there. We really, we did it. We started in March of '84 to put material together and get our licenses, and we opened our doors on September 1st. It was phenomenal.
Wow. So So in the beginning you were doing adoption?
We were doing adoptions, and we were doing some foster care and some therapeutic foster care for the probation department and for some other youth who needed just some temporary support, therapeutic support. And the more we really looked at what families needed, the more we began to realize that there were ancillary services that needed to be developed. And our founding statement has always been, we've actually been very true to our founding statement, and that has been that we don't start programs that the community doesn't need, and we don't keep programs that the community doesn't need. So in every community that we work in, when there is a need, we see if we can fill it, and when we know are no longer needed, we can pass that along to someone else who can pick it up.
Let me ask you, if I may, about the adoption services. So is that all children who are local, who come from families in a difficult situation? And where are the children before they get adopted? Can you explain a little bit more about the adoption process?
Yes. Adoption, it depends on the kind of adoption that we are supporting. We work with pregnant women, and we help them to make decisions about whether or not to parent their child or to place their child with a family for adoption. We work with relatives who are caring for their relative children and work with them on whether or not they can move to adoption or legal guardianship. And we have a program, Family Ties, in Monterey County that supports grandparents raising their grandchildren and other relatives who are supporting their children. We work with a lot of counties to help to find permanent families for children who are in the foster care system who can't go back to any family member. Right. And so they would be matched with a family who can meet their needs, who they may not be related to at all. Right. And those children usually come to those families on a foster care basis until they are legally free to be adopted, and then move into adoption with that family. California is unique, actually, I think, in the country, in that the courts don't free children for adoption until a family is identified. So they don't create legal orphans. And so children go to families as foster children if they come from the foster care system until they're legally free.
So the children then, before the court approves them to be adopted, where are the children?
In foster care.
In foster care, so with temporary foster families.
Or with the family who's going to adopt them. That's the best of all possible worlds.
Now, how frequently, you mentioned grandparents raising kids or other family members, how often do children who are they adopted by extended family? Does that happen like half the time? Or?
I think that it happens quite often, and we never hear about it because those are not necessarily the families who are coming to us for support.
Right.
But it's a very complicated family situation that usually determines whether or not a grandparent or an aunt or uncle will take guardianship of a child as opposed to adopting. And because adoption means that the parent who is the biological parent really loses their custody. Okay. And that's a very difficult family situation. So there are varying degrees, but what our purpose is always has been to ensure permanency of family for every child. Okay. Whether that means maintaining a family that's having problems, and our mental health clinics are geared to support families who need help in keeping their family together. We only do family therapy. We don't see children separate from their parents. But we have a specialty in that arena with families who are built by adoption, relative care, children who are coming out of the foster care system and going into families. That's really what our niche is in our mental health programs around the state. We have 4 clinics.
When I was a younger man, I lived in South America. I studied in Quito, Ecuador. And when I was in the university, I was volunteering at a place, a nonprofit called Centro del Muchacho Trabajador, which means Center of the Working Boy. And what they were doing was trying to take young boys off the streets who didn't have, maybe they were sniffing glue or they just didn't have anything, and they tried to teach them life skills. They would polish shoes and do other things like that to earn some money. But very quickly they realized that those boys were just part of a larger family problem. And similar to what you're saying, they took on the whole family. And the girls would do art projects. I volunteered with the 5th grade girls, and they would create little art crafts that they would then sell in their stores. And they would work with the parents because they realized, as you did, that, you know, you have to attack the problem at the roots, right? Right.
And we have to remember that children who are adopted, and often at older ages, come with families in their history, and families in their hearts. And so you don't just say to a child, you know, we'll leave that family behind and we'll give you a new family and everything will be fine. They carry with them all of their memories, all of their experiences, and integrating that in a new family involves everybody. And having them be able to move forward, overcoming trauma from earlier times in their lives. We need their parents, their adoptive parents. We need them, or their relatives, their aunts and uncles, or whoever's parenting them. We need them to be part of the solution. The therapist isn't the solution. The family is the solution.
Very well spoken. And I have to tell you, I sometimes share too much on the program, and I come from a family that has had more than its share of problems. And I have a brother who was complaining about some stuff, and my mom said, you know, you're 40-something years old. When is the time going to come when you, like, let go of the past? But I think he keeps hearkening back to issues in his childhood or whatnot. And so I think the work that you're doing probably ends up having ripple effects throughout the lives, not just of the children who are adopted, but the entire families and society at large.
Well, adoption is a generational issue, actually. You know, if you are an adopted person, then you carry forward as a parent who was adopted with the children who you parent. All of those issues they're all part of you and part of who you are as a parent yourself. So, you know, our mission is, in every situation that we work with, is to keep families together and to support them. And to that end, we also have an education institute. We write curricula for professionals and for parents to help train professionals in our field, in any field, to really understand that when they're working with families who are built by adoption, or families who are kinship care families who are raising their relative children, their family systems are different, and what they bring to the table is different, and you have to work with them in a different way and really respect the uniqueness of their family constellation. The same with the parents who are raising children who've come from the foster care system, who've sustained many moves, who have experienced trauma. They have to parent in a different way, because what they've done traditionally with children they may have raised before who were born to them they can't do the same things. Attachment issues are different. They have to bring that child to them instead of, for instance, if you say to a child, go to your room, you're pushing that child away when in fact what you need to be saying to them, a child who's had many, many moves and separations, is you must sit by me now for the next 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
You need to bring that child to you and really create that attachment opportunity rather than saying, go away from me, because that child has already been told, go away from me enough.
What a simple concept that seems remarkably powerful. Mm-hmm. Wow. You mentioned ancillary services as you started going down this path. You began with adoption services, and then you started to need, you mentioned training of other professionals. What are some of the other ancillary services?
Well, our mental health clinics are really geared to supporting the families that we're helping to create and that others have helped to create. We work with any adoptive family and any relative caregiver and any family that, I mean, we would be happy to work also with families of divorce and blended families, children of divorce and blended families and other families. We have our mental health clinics that are Medi-Cal funded, that are contracts with counties, can only serve those children from those particular counties who have Medi-Cal funding. But we have fee-for-service clinics as well that follow the same model. That families can come to and utilize, or we can work directly with somebody who placed a child for adoption, birth parents who placed a child for adoption, or adoptive parents who have issues that they want to deal with. We can work with them through our fee-for-service clinics. We have, as I said, our relative caregiver program. We also have an adoption-specific wraparound program, and wraparound is a concept of taking services and supports into a family at a time when they might be risking having a child moved out of their family for placement in residential care. And we bring those services into the family. And we know, because of the unique issues in adoption, that all of those services have to be supporting the attachment of the family. Again, because sending a child away is one more rejection and really feeds into what they already believe about themselves, is that they're not lovable. So we have that service, and we provide that all over Northern California and also in our Orange County environment. So that's another service that we developed connected to what we understand about the needs of these families.
Carol, tell me about upcoming events that you might have, fundraisers or different ways that people can get involved with the work of Kinship Center.
Well, we're involved with the Concourse Delegates, and we have been for a number of years, and they have so generously every year for several years given us a car to auction opportunities for. And this year I believe we have a Mercedes-Benz, which is very exciting, which we will be sharing with Community Hospital. So if you see us out selling tickets and opportunities to support the agency, please be generous. We also have our Harvest Moon Festival in October, which is our semi-annual event. Again, it's a fundraiser. We hold it at our offices on River Road, and it's quite a gala affair.
It's a beautiful offices.
Yes, we love our offices. We just feel like it's a home rather than it doesn't look like an institution. It really is a welcoming home. And our website is full of all kinds of ideas of how people can be involved with us and what kinds of events are coming up and how you can find out more about Kinship Center and become a member of, we have an auxiliary in Salinas of fabulous women who are, and men, who are really, really supportive. They love to be involved in events that are supporting the work that we do, and we would invite anybody who has an interest to find out more about that just by going to our website.
And that's kinshipcenter.org?
That's kinshipcenter.org.
Okay. Well, gosh, I could keep talking to you. I'm really fascinated about how you grew from a small organization to become so big and how you've done that successfully, but we're going to be out of time. So I want to thank you for creating Kinship Center and for plugging away at it for these many years and all of the lives that I'm sure you have touched.
It has been a wonderful journey.
Okay, great. That's Carol Bishop with the Kinship Center, co-founder and executive vice president. So check out kinshipcenter.org to learn more.